Hi, welcome to the John Courtney Murray S.J. Forum, Divinely Intended Tensions. I'm here in New York City at America Media with Father James Martin, S.J., Editor-at-Large of America Magazine. Father, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be with you. I'm happy to help Loyola Chicago. I spent 2 of the best years of my life at that great campus.
So, first question for you. What do you think of when you hear the phrase divinely intended tensions?
I thought it was at first a very mysterious phrase, but ultimately it made sense to me because our lives are filled with tensions. No matter who we are, if we're a believer or a non-believer, we feel these pulls, in our interior lives and in our daily lives as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense. It's very provocative.
Yeah. So where are some places in your ministry specifically that you see a lot of tension?
Well, I think the biggest tension is I'm a priest, and so I represent the Catholic Church and want to put forth its teaching. I mean, that's who I am as a Jesuit. But I'm also a journalist, and a journalist is someone who is kind of relentlessly after the truth. And so sometimes those things are in conflict, not because the Catholic Church isn't truthful, but because a lot of times, you have to decide, what's the best way to present the church, and how can you present the church in a way that's fair and truthful, but also positive. And so that could be a tension sometimes for me.
Do you sometimes see a tension between maybe what you would like the church to be, or in your reporting of the church, and what it is?
Always, and I find a tension within me about what the church is and what I think it ought to be, or what I think that it could be. So that's another tension as well that I find just in my life as a Jesuit. And it's being grateful for where the church is, but also knowing that there's a certain role of prophecy that we all have. We're all baptized priest, prophet, and king in trying to move the church ahead. So, and it also sort of overlying all those things is the need for humility. Just because I think the church would be in a certain place doesn't mean that it needs to be or that it should be. I'm not Jesus Christ. You haven't figured that out.
So, in these tensions, what role does the divine play?
Well, I mean, as a Jesuit, we believe in discernment and trying to read the signs of the times, to look at what's going on in the world, and then to discern where the Holy Spirit might be leading us. So that's where the Spirit comes in. You look at a certain situation, you look at a tension, right? And you say, I feel pulled this way and I feel pulled that way. Which way should I go, or which way should I gravitate? And the answer is, to look at, how the Spirit is leading you. What consoles you, to use some Jesuit terminology, where do you feel at peace, where you feel tension and sort of anxiety. But ultimately, where is it that you feel that the Spirit is leading you? So it's not just me making decisions on my own. It's trusting that the Spirit is going to help me and guide me and help the community as well.
So is the Holy Spirit a force that unifies us or divides us and can bring tension sometimes?
I think that's a great question. The answer is both. At one point Jesus says in the Gospels, I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword to divide people, basically. And sometimes the Holy Spirit does divide us. Or shall I say, the action of the Holy Spirit can kind of sort of shake things up and sort of pull us apart. Ultimately, though, the Holy Spirit unifies, and it is a force for union. But it doesn't come by everybody just sort of blindly following the same things, basically. We are divided when we try to follow our own lights and our own sort of understanding of where the Spirit is leading us, but ultimately the Spirit unifies, and that's one of the great fruits of the Spirit. So it's a both and, but in the end it's union.
Both and. That's a very Catholic answer.
Yes, thank you.
So what does that look like on a pastoral level? Because that can be really messy sometimes.
Super messy. I am not a parish priest. I don't work in a parish, so a lot of Jesuits do. And I know there's a lot of divisions within parishes. You've talked to people who are on a parish council, but ultimately, I think everybody in the parish council and in a parish, and the pastor and as well as the pastoral staff, knows that it is a community, and we are sort of drawn to unity. And the great sacrament of unity is the Eucharist. We're all sort of around the table. But that doesn't mean that the Holy Spirit is not going to, at times, sort of move us apart as we try to figure out the right thing to do. That's just part of the human experience. And you look at St. Peter and Paul. I mean, they were apart and they were at odds at different parts. But ultimately, it's all about union.
Right. Where are some tensions in the church right now?
I think the biggest tension in the church right now is the age-old tension between You could call it conservative and liberal, probably progressive and traditional is the better way to look at it. So the church needs to conserve what's best about its tradition. I mean, the essentials. But it also needs to change. I mean, and the church is always changing. For people who say the church doesn't change or can't change, I say look at the Second Vatican Council. I mean, the priest was celebrating the Mass with his back to the people in Latin, and now, we're turned around and saying it in the vernacular. That happened 50 years ago. And so there's that tension. You don't always want to be just sort of relying on the tradition, because you'll never change and you won't be open to the Spirit, but you don't want to just jettison the tradition and just sort of move ahead blindly, because the tradition is holy and the Holy Spirit's there. So that's probably the biggest tension in the church.
Do you think that Pope Francis is adding some tension into the church right now?
He is. Pope Francis had said specifically that he wants to cause a mess. I don't know what the Spanish original is, but that's what he wants to do. He wants to shake things up a little bit. And I think he's very much along the lines of someone like St. John the 23rd, who tried to do that in the Second Vatican Council. He said he wanted to open up the windows of the church and let in some fresh air. So yeah, I think the Pope is trying to shake us up, just the way Jesus shook us up. The great line is that the Christian needs to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable too.
That's good. Well, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to be with you. And go Ramblers.
Go Ramblers.